Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hodder. We have very special guest today, Bobby Lee, the CEO and founder of Ballet Wallet. Bobby, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Sasha, rather. It's great to be here on your show.
Great to have you. So, Bobby, I have a few questions for us to go through. Looking forward to the conversation with you today. Maybe we could start just with a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, so my background, I have a tech background. So, studied computer science at Stanford and then worked in Silicon Valley for many years. Started at Yahoo, this one of the internet giants back in the 1990s, during the dot-com heyday, if you will. And then I got into crypto about 11 years ago in 2011. And I started, just as a hobbyist, like mining Bitcoin, through my own sort of custom built PC with graphics cards. At that time I was living in China. I held a few management tech jobs in China. So I was doing, I think at the time I was at Walmart, doing global e-commerce and just mining Bitcoin as a hobbyist, learning about digital currency. The notion that, for the first time we can have a decentralized digital currency. And that was the invention, right? Because prior to Bitcoin, that was not possible. Prior to Bitcoin, any sort of digital currency was always a centralized solution offered by a company, offered by a system. And people had doubts whether a system or company can enforce the rules and not pollute it and not overprint, overissue. So when Bitcoin came around, the white paper and subsequent launch of the mainnet, it was a big deal to see if this could function. So in hindsight, that was still pretty early, but at that time, Bitcoin was already around for like a year and a half, right? So it wasn't clear that I already missed the sort of below $1 level Bitcoin. But nonetheless, I mined dozens of Bitcoin during the summer of 2011, and then I remember making a promise to myself that if I ever start a company, become an entrepreneur, I would do it in the field of Bitcoin. And sure enough, a year and a half later, I had the chance to start my own company. And of course, I kept my promise and decided to do something in Bitcoin. And that's when I got into launching BTCChina, the very first Bitcoin exchange in China. So I became the co-founder and CEO and off to the races.
Oh, that's excellent. So, wow, you were an early internet adopter at Yahoo, and then, probably one of the first exchanges in China. What was it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it was the very first exchange in China. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And what were some of your main takeaways working at the exchange over the years, and what kind of made you stop and transition into what you're working on now with Ballet?
Yeah, first of all, I, along with many of the early people who got into Bitcoin, we went in sort of head first, sort of without understanding the full implications of Bitcoin and currency, digital currency, and finance, and so on. So I remember in 2013, the whole notion of KYC, which is today people know it, right? Know your customer. That whole notion was very new to a lot of people. So we as in the industry, we knew that KYC was coming up. It's important. At the time, there was no regulation anywhere, right? There's no regulation in China, no regulation in the US. But we were trying to stay ahead of the game and, trying to get open bank accounts and talking to them about KYC regulation. And they would dismiss us, didn't think of much. But today, if you run an exchange and try to get a bank account, it's a big, big deal, right? They have special forms to fill out and KYC, and even trying to get to know the ultimate beneficiary owner of your business and so on and so forth. So it's a very regulated environment now, both in the US and abroad. So the other aspects are, running an exchange is actually a custodial business, right? Again, it's absolutely true. It was back in 2013. It is still now true for running centralized exchange as a custodial business. But the point I'm making is that it wasn't apparent that that was important, or the notion of running, whether it's a hot wallet or cold wallet, whether it's offline storage, whether it's a custodial wallet, custodial platform versus keeping your own. Now, these are distinct terms. Today, everybody knows they're very different, but back then it was just so new, right? We didn't really think much. Back then, in 2013, I don't even think there was a cold storage wallet possible. In the earliest days, if you think of 2009, 2010, the only wallet for Bitcoin was the main Bitcoin program, what they call the Bitcoin uh, QT program or the Bitcoin Core program, right? It runs on Windows, it runs on Linux, and it was a hot wallet that was always connected to the internet, and even the wallet file itself was not even encrypted, right? Those are good old days. So so running exchange was a custodial business, and of course, being a custodial business, being centralized, there's a lot you have to watch out. You're actually custodying user funds, right? So unlike if you run a game company and you have people logging in to play your online game, if they lose their account or the account, gold coins get wiped. As a gaming company, you can also always reissue the gold coins to your customers. You can reset the password and so on and so forth. So, but for a decentralized cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, if someone's account gets hacked, the hacker drains their exchange account with all the Bitcoin taken out. There's not much we can do. We can't find more Bitcoin and just issue to them. We have to, if we want to compensate them, we have to go buy the Bitcoins and give it to them or whatnot. So it's a big deal, right? The notion of a digital asset that was decentralized and I cannot just issue willy nilly on my own. And some exchanges did issue Bitcoins willy nilly, and they get in trouble because they're hypothecating the amount of Bitcoins on their system, and it becomes too much, a lot of fake trading and all that stuff. So that's what happened with Mt. Gox, and of course that collapsed in 2014. Yeah, that's the early part of Bitcoin history, Bitcoin lore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gosh, you must have. It just must have been so exciting being right in the mix of it back then. I
Yeah,
know
that's right.
I started with a Bitcoin ATM company in 2014, and so same thing with regulation. Like at the time, everyone thought it was the same as selling, a bag of chips. Like you didn't, the Bank
Yeah,
Secrecy Act and all that, and then we
yeah,
realized
exactly.
we got to register this thing. Basically when Ross's case
Yeah,
happened, everyone kind of wised up to it of saying, "Oh, geez, there's a lot to selling Bitcoin more than just
that's right.
treating it like a
Yeah,
vending machine."
it's not just a vending machine. Even though it may look like a vending machine, it wasn't just vending potato chips and sodas and
I wish it
yeah,
was still like. I wish that was the way. I feel like a lot of
yeah.
this regulation has muddled the whole
Yeah,
thing up.
which Bitcoin ATM company was that in 2014?
Oh, it was called Chain Bites.
Okay.
So you went from running this giant exchange in China to manufacturing and selling these ballet wallets. What kind of was the main deciding factor for that, or what benefit do you see in the wallets over holding money on an exchange?
Yeah.
And
So we were successful, and in some ways we got lucky. We actually were able to our exchange got acquired. So BTCC got acquired in 2018, and I was happy, and we are able to go get a sort of graceful exit. We made a lot of money for investors, and we and the new management team, the new owners wanted to run their own company, BTCC. So I stayed on as an advisor for like a year. Essentially, I was able to exit cleanly, and then I was thinking about I could retire, I could go back to the traditional tech sector. It didn't occur to me initially that I would stay in crypto and do another company, right? So first of all, I didn't want to do an exchange anymore. I think for anyone who has run an exchange and who is able to get out cleanly, most likely would not want to do another exchange anymore. That's coming from someone who's done that, right? So the people who are still running exchanges, I can tell you firsthand. I was a CEO, right, of an exchange. I can tell you firsthand that it's not a fun job. It's a very stressful job. It's just very icky, right?
mhm.
Very troublesome, and it's very competitive. A lot of competition and a lot of hackers and all that. So for sure, I didn't want to do an exchange. That was clear in my mind. The people who are running exchange today are either stuck in their roles because they can't get out, or they don't know better because they only got in and don't understand the full depth of the issues of running an exchange. Okay, so anyways, good luck to all you executives running exchanges out there. Um, now, now, what I realized by the end of 2018, during my year off, is that I realized storing Bitcoin, storing cryptocurrency was still a challenge because the vast majority of what people use is actually to store crypto on an exchange. And the reason for that is because it's easy. But we all know about that storing your crypto on an exchange is not safe. You don't have control of your private keys. You have risk of hacking. You have risk of confiscation. You have risk of regulatory changes, which could render your account inaccessible. You could have identity theft, and you may not be able to get your Bitcoin out at the time that you need, or even in the amounts. They may limit the amount of withdrawals that you can take out at one time. There's all sorts of issues why you probably don't want to have your crypto on custodial exchanges. And the better way is to keep them on your own device, whether it's a mobile hot wallet running on your phone or running a wallet on your computer. And then there's these fancy devices, electronic hardware, cold storage wallets. And those are good solutions. And by the way, I use all wallets through the whole spectrum, right? Now, the issue is the ones that are more secure and better are actually very difficult to use, very complicated to set up, and very convoluted. And also the maintenance, the firmware upgrades, the software patches, the setup process, everything's very complicated. So for most people, they don't bother with it. They just leave it on an exchange, which is just a username and a password login, right? So that's why after 2018, I realized, hey, there's an opportunity here. I think, I, along with a few other founding team members, we came from BTCC, we had this vision. We can probably create a new type of hardware wallet that's completely offline cold storage, and that was super easy to use. That's the objective. And this is the outcome. The outcome is the Ballet, the Real Series. This is the gold edition, the premium gold edition. 24 karat real gold plated, and it's made of metal, right? It's stainless steel, so it's really, really heavy, hefty, and very safe. And the most important thing is this wallet is there's no setup procedure. So you buy it, right, and it's ready to go. You don't have to spend minutes or hours setting up the process. And there's an optional companion app on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or Android phone. We even allow you to download the app that runs on the Macintosh, on a Windows or a Linux machine. And with a companion app, you can have multi-currency support. So this one card here allows you to store crypto and NFTs, over 200 varieties of cryptocurrencies and NFTs, all on the single card. Keep it really safe offline. And this is a bearer asset. So we know that crypto is a bearer asset, right? Private key bearer asset, not tied to a username account. And this is also a bearer asset. This is a physical bearer asset. Now, if you have crypto here, then this is your money, treated like cash or gold, right? So this is a new concept. There's no passwords. There's no KYC. There's no login registration. There's no SMS verification. There's no memorizing anything. Because there's no password, there's no need to reset a password. If there's no need to reset a password, there's no centralized entity you need to talk to. Even though Ballet makes this product, in the end, you have full control over it. So that's what's amazing about this. So I'm really proud to have been part of the team that invented this wallet and brought it to market. So we've been around for 3.5 years now. We launched this about 3 years ago, so it's really exciting. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I know. I have one. My husband has one. My son has both. My son and stepson and nephew. And I just every year, for every time a birthday or something comes around, I just send
That's
a little.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. So you could load up crypto on here, whatever your favorite crypto is, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, or Zcash or whatever, Dogecoin, or even NFTs. You could buy your NFT, whether it's an expensive Bored Ape or a cheaper one. You could load it on here and then give it to the person for a birthday, for a tooth fairy gift, for Christmas, holidays, for Mother's Day, Father's Day, anything you can think of. You can give crypto away. I give these out at weddings, right? When my friends have weddings, rather than giving them a traditional wedding gift, I give them the gift of crypto. So I load up, in my case, I load up some Bitcoin on here and I present it to them in a nice case. And that's a very fancy wedding gift that will keep on giving, because I think the gift of Bitcoin keeps on giving in the sense that the value goes up over a long period of time. Yeah. Agreed.
And your wonderful teammate, Eric, he said we can do a contest and give out a Ballet wallet to one lucky listener. And I was thinking maybe I could do a Twitter poll after this. Maybe I can get your price prediction for the coming, in the next 5 years, what you think the price is going to do. And then we'll do a Twitter poll, and whoever guesses, like whoever listens to the podcast and get it, then whoever does it first, we can give them a Ballet wallet and send it to them.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay, good, Sasha. Looking forward to that.
Well, so what is your price prediction? I remember last time you and I spoke in Miami, you had said
Yeah.
maybe it could go as high as 200,000, and then I heard you on a podcast since then with even higher of a prediction. So,
Yeah. It's not an exact science. I think anyone out there, you know, over the last 10 years, anyone who's made a prediction, 99% of the people who've made predictions are wrong, right? So there are the occasional one guy or one woman who makes a prediction and they were spot on, right? So I don't think I'll make a perfect prediction, but I think I'm very bullish on Bitcoin in the long term. I think this year, given the global macro situation, I think it's going to be tough. I think people have acknowledged, and I have as well, that we're sort of in a bear market, in a crypto bear market, and Bitcoin is trading at what is it, $19,000? You know, it's been in a bounded range of between 18,000 and 22,000. So going up and down in the $4,000 range of that, and I think it's going to be stuck at this level for a few months and even into next year. I think could bottom out at maybe below $15,000. So it's scary to some people, right? But on the other hand, I think if you look at the larger time horizon, in roughly 2 years, in a year and a half, we'll have the next block halving, right? In the spring of 2024, and it's only a year and a half away, 18 months away. We'll have a block halving. This is the Bitcoin block halving that happens every 4 years. So that's going to be some artificial pressure to pump up the price, right? There's an expectation that it would happen. And the other thing is that in 5 years, in 6 years, we'll have two block halvings within a 6 year period, right? So that's very exciting. So in the 5 to 6 year time frame, I think it could easily peak out over 200 or $300,000. Now, we all know 2 years, I guess a year ago, it peaked out at $69,000. At that time, myself and many others thought it would go past $100,000. It never did. Sad to say, it never did.
I
Right?
thought
Maybe
it
I
was.
owe some lunch and dinner. Yeah, so I owe dinner to a lot of people that I promised they would go up to over $1,000. But I've learned that that's not the case. So in any case, I think again, I think it easily go past 200 to 300,000, especially in the next 5 to 6 years. If you have a larger time horizon, like 8 years or 10 years, then I think Bitcoin's bound to go past $1 million. There's some famous people who've made $1 million Bitcoin prediction, and they all been wrong so far. You know, and I think it just takes some time, but because Bitcoin is truly the world's only asset class that is limited in quantity, and that has utility, that is useful for global commerce. I think the world is waking up, and that's why Bitcoin has legs. Even this year, right? If you look at the prices, people talk about Bitcoin's been underperforming, it's been correlated with stocks. I beg to differ. The stock market has been suffering some volatility. It's been going down quite a bit in the last few weeks in September and October, but Bitcoin has held steady. And the other thing is that when measured in US dollars, Bitcoin has stayed around $19,000, let's say. But the reality is over the last 6 months, the US dollar has appreciated significantly when compared to other currencies. Think of the euro, think of the British pound, the Chinese renminbi, the Japanese yen. Many global currencies, when measured against the US dollar, those currencies have become weaker. The dollar has become stronger. So if you price Bitcoin in the native currency that's non-American US dollar, in euros, British pound, Japanese yen, and whatnot, Bitcoin prices have actually increased some 30-40% in the last 6 months. So that's something for you guys to think about. So in that sense, Bitcoin has held steady.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That is a good point. I haven't heard many people talking about that difference in the pricing it always in the US dollars. Mhm.
Yeah,
What
that's right.
what do you think? I've heard some I kind of think it's FUD, but I've heard some people talking or read tweets about it of people saying that because there's so much paper money now in the trading of Bitcoin, that could have a negative impact on the price in the long term. Do you think there's any merit to that?
So much trading of Bitcoin and what? Could you clarify that?
That like that it's being settled in futures contracts.
Oh, I see. So yeah. So that's always at risk that they're trading on paper Bitcoin. So that's why, just like gold, right? I'm also a gold investor. I buy physical gold. The advice for gold bugs, people who appreciate gold, is if you were to buy gold, you should buy physical gold and take delivery and take it home and lock it up. Don't ever quote unquote buy the gold and leave it on a platform on a bank and where they pretend you have this many ounces or this many grams of gold. If you want to get gold, get physical gold, then take it home. Same with Bitcoin. If you buy Bitcoin, I don't care if it's on an exchange, on a platform, OTC or whatever, or even a friend buys it for you, don't leave it with them. Don't ever leave your Bitcoin on a platform or with a friend, with another custodian, right? Take it home, take it with you, right? With Ballet, you can load it on here and physically take it. If you don't like to use Ballet, you could use electronic wallets or mobile app wallets, and you could download it and bring your Bitcoin home with you. So I agree that there are cases where certain platforms are trading paper Bitcoin. They could sort of, they pretend to tell you that they buy it. As an example, I think on PayPal, I forgot it was PayPal or Cash or Venmo. Some of these apps now allow you to buy Bitcoin. They all allow you to buy Bitcoin, but not all of them allow you to withdraw it, right? For example, my Bitcoin on PayPal, I bought some Bitcoin just to test on PayPal. And I have some like fractional amount of Bitcoin on PayPal, and I don't think I can take it out. At least that was the case earlier this year or last year. If that's changed, then that's good, right? Then we want to withdraw it out and put it on a wallet, a safe wallet.
Yeah, and so over the next coming years, how do you think Bitcoin's going to shape the global economy, or do you think it's going to play a bigger role? Like when you started in 2011, it was such that no one knew or cared really what it was, and then I think it's gained some traction. Where do you think it's headed?
I think it's not. So I'm going to say something maybe negative and not super bullish. I don't think Bitcoin is going to save the world and going to change the way we do things per se, right? I think Bitcoin is a great investment asset. I think people around the world should invest in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin itself is not going to save a country from collapse, save a bad economy. It's not a Superman, right? Bitcoin is not the cure-all for everything, right? Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin is useless or bad. I'm just saying that Bitcoin is neutral. Bitcoin is inert, right? Bitcoin has been around for 13 plus years. It just runs well. It's kind of like gold, right? Gold is just there, right? People mine it, people bring it out of the ground, people melt it into coins and necklaces and rings and whatever. But in the end, gold has no mind or a thought of its own. Gold is not here to take over the world, right? So same thing, Bitcoin isn't here to take over the world. Bitcoin is inert, it's stable. It's there are 19 million Bitcoins in existence now out of the 21 million. And I look forward, the next 1 million is going to come out in a few dozen years, and the last will, So Bitcoin is really fun to have, right? It's a great investment. You have to have the stomach for the volatility, and for people who think Bitcoin is too volatile, they're not ready to buy. That's fine. Wait another 5 years, 8 years. When Bitcoin goes above $1 million, that's when Bitcoin will be stable. That's when Bitcoin will be trusted by everyone. And that's when Bitcoin will be circulating all around the world with high acceptance rate. And maybe some people would choose to buy Bitcoin at that time. That's fine too. But the reality is if you buy Bitcoin at that time, you're missing out on the price appreciation from $19,000 to $1 million. So if you want to be, if you want to make money and invest in Bitcoin for the long term, I suggest you get in early. Getting in late is fine. You just have a different return profile on that. And in terms of the other thing about Bitcoin is there's a school of thought that Bitcoin is great for payments. I think it's good for transferring assets, but I don't think necessarily Bitcoin is a solution for payments, right? So have I ever purchased coffee or paid for a breakfast with Bitcoin? Yes, I have, right? But the reality is that all of those purchases that I used Bitcoin to pay for, whether it's clothing, breakfast, or coffee, in hindsight, it was a mistake because I should have held on to the Bitcoin and just paid with fiat money, because that amount of Bitcoin is worth much more today, right? So that's why, I say, buy the Bitcoin. By the way, buying Bitcoin is not an easy job, right? Given all the KYC, bank regulation. So once you go through the hoops of buying Bitcoin, really decide to keep it for long term. If you want to just pay for coffee, pay for a meal, use your fiat money. That's the money that's going to be worth less and less. Get rid of that, right? And then save your Bitcoin and hodl it for the long term, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm sure you've seen some of the climate, debate around Bitcoin. The White House put out the environmental impact report, and then we have people like Greenpeace saying, Bitcoin, is using too much energy and et cetera.
Yeah.
With proof of work. What do you think? Is it worth the energy?
Well, the world is using up too much energy. People are using up too much energy. Pets are using up too much energy, right? What do you do? Do you get rid of people? Do you get rid of pets? Do you get rid of companies? Do you get rid of cars? So it's a matter of it's subjective. Okay, so I'll give you an example. This is a common probably analogy, right? Christmas lights. There are people who put up Christmas lights, who put up Halloween decorations, and people who light up their tennis courts at night, or people who light up their swimming pools, right? Is it wasted energy? I mean, maybe I don't care if it's $1 or $100 a month or a year or whatever. The question is it wasteful energy? Well, it's subjective, right? For one person who doesn't own a swimming pool, who doesn't own a home, may think that it's completely wasteful to have Christmas lights. But the other person who wants to do it, they have the budget, they've earned the money to do it, right? So it's kind of like, in many parts, I grew up in Africa. I also, part of the time I live in China. And people in many of these developing countries, they don't have laundry machines. They don't have washing and dryers, right? They launder, they dry their clothes in natural sunlight in the air. They don't use a very electricity consuming sort of drying machine, right? But in America, a lot of people use washers and dryers, right? So is that wasteful? It's very subjective. I know, it's so the problem is, even cash, right? Spending cash or ATM cards or credit cards, right? You know how much Visa, MasterCard, American Express spends in terms of their total budget for a full year with all their employees and all their networks and all that stuff. It's hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even in the billions, right? So that's the cost of credit cards, right? It's not free, right? All these people, all these networks, the computers, and all the physical land and the salaries of all these people, all these executives, right? Whereas Bitcoin, you don't have that cost of infrastructure. All you have is people who are mining, and so it's to me, it's not a clear yes or no whether Bitcoin is wasteful. I think in comparison, for example, gold, right? If you wear necklaces or diamonds, right? Why do you pay so much for gold and diamond jewelry? Well, because gold and diamond is expensive. Why is it expensive? Because companies have spent a lot of money to extract those resources from the natural environment. They're digging mines to mine the gold and mine the diamond, and that takes a lot of energy. And it's not a fair comparison, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think there's been a few studies where they look at, even in that White House report, they looked at, all the energy used by YouTube or, other
Exactly.
companies, and
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
higher
Maybe
than.
we should shut down. Yeah, we should shut down YouTube, shut down Netflix, right? Now, of course, it's a matter of subjectivity, right?
Yeah, I think you're dead on with it. It's just, if someone's not using Bitcoin, have never used it, and they hear of the mining, to them it's going to seem like a lot. But someone who believes in it and thinks it's, the best thing in the world, or the best currency that we've ever had, or has had their life changed by, the appreciation of the value of it, it's certainly worth it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of the ETH merge to proof of stake? Do you think that has
I
any?
think it's good. I think it's great. I'm certainly a bigger Bitcoin fan. I have more invested in Bitcoin than Ethereum, but I do hold some Ethereum as well. And I'm definitely not an Ethereum hater. I'm proud that the Ethereum network, the Ethereum ecosystem, successfully went through the merge. Was it last month? Yeah. So I think it's great. I think looking forward to the next upgrade uh, next year to the finishing the upgrade for the proof of stake, the getting the interest. I think it's a very decent sort of experiment they're working on, and I'm very supportive of it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And different topic. What about CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies? What are
Yeah.
your
See.
views on those?
Yeah. CBDCs. So first of all, people occasionally ask me about it, but the reality is, if you really understand that CBDCs are very different from what we call traditional decentralized digital cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the reason is because the whole point of a CDBC is for it to be controlled, and in this case, controlled by the central bank, controlled by the country. And the second deal with it is the value is tied to the fiat money. It's tied in this. If it were U.S. dollar, tied to U.S. dollar or euro, or in China, famously has launched the world's first sort of pilot of the CDBC that's tied to the renminbi, the Chinese yuan currency, right? So if the value is tied and if it's controlled by a central government or a central bank, then what's the whole point? It's sort of like it's not what we. It's totally off. It's totally completely different than what we're doing and what we want out of Bitcoin, right? So to me, it's not even the same ballpark. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And were you still in China when they rolled out the social credit system?
Yeah, the social credit system has been around for a few years. I've been sort of living in China for the last 16 years. These days, since Ballet is headquartered in Las Vegas, I split my time between Shanghai and Las Vegas. But yeah, I myself haven't been a victim or haven't been sort of captured in the social credit system. But China has a very authoritarian way of doing things, including recently the zero COVID stuff. So it's very different culturally. Yeah.
What's the zero COVID?
Oh, with the COVID pandemic, the world has finally opened up, but China is still maintaining a zero COVID policy, where as soon as there's outbreaks in certain cities or neighborhoods, they stamp it out. They mass lockdown, what they call snap lockdowns. They'll lock down a neighborhood, lock down a residential building, and even lock down a whole city at a time for days and weeks and even months, and not let people to leave their home. So it's a very crazy, very very crazy way to manage the COVID outbreak.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually saw a video of them closing a Walmart and people were still inside and it was like they were just
Oh
going to have the
yeah,
Walmart.
exactly. So if they when they do that, then people have to literally sleep overnight. Everyone who's inside the Walmart or in the office building would have to stay overnight in there. No one can go in, no one can go out, and everybody gets tested, and they might be able to leave in like 1 or 2 or 3 days. So it's crazy. It's very very disruptive. Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah. So how did you escape getting integrated into that social credit system? If
So
you're
you mean escape to get where? To come to the US?
escape being part of that, you said you don't have a social credit score over there, like you're not in that program or
Oh yeah. So I'm a dual citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen as well. So I'm not a local Chinese PRC passport holder. So I don't have that. I don't think I have that social credit score thing. Just
okay.
like foreigners who visit the U.S. they don't have social security numbers. Kind of same thing.
Right, I see. Okay. Yeah. I'm worried when it rolls out here, it might be something like where they say, "Oh, we'll give everyone $1,000 a month or something like that," and everyone's gonna really want the money, so they get these wallets, and then it's like
Yeah.
once it starts,
Yeah, that's the fear, right? Think about it. This is exactly the fear. If the government controls your money and they give you permission to use $1,000 a month, and the reality is they can also seize your permission, take your permission away. They can block you. They could freeze your account where you can't spend the money. So you become a slave to the government. You become at their mercy, right? This is the fear, right? This is why libertarians were calling out. We want a cash society. We don't want a system where governments and central banks can control our wallets, right? In whether it's in China, WePay wallet and Alipay and all these other countries who have strong authoritarian regimes where they try to control people's money. It may sound good that they're giving you $1,000 a stipend per month or whatever, but the reality is you're at their mercy, right? If you do something, you protest, or you say something that's anti-government, or you even read a book that's a banned, right? Then, or you go surf the web, go use VPN and access some website or news article that talks trash about the local government, then you are at risk of being hauled off to jail. And if they can't catch you, they can disable you through their systems, or whether it's a COVID QR code, health code, they can stop you from going into restaurants and shopping malls. They can stop you from traveling on trains and airplanes. And then if they can have access to your money, they can freeze your bank account on online CDBC bank account app on your phone, and you can't even buy things, right? And that is the ultimate fear. I mean, that's terrible. That would be terrible. That's very dystopian.
Agreed. I hope we never get there, but if we do, we're ready with our ballet cards.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
I
proud that for Ballet, even though as a company we make these wallets, but if you analyze and understand the product, once you have this wallet, you have full control over your funds. We as a company, there's nothing we can do to stop you from accessing your money. You have full control over all the money you store on here at all times. It's an open standard. It's a BIP 38 open standard, so you can always download and run the open source version of the standard, or you can use our version. And even if Apple or Google Play, if they stop, take down our app, people can have their own version open source. So that's really important to have an open standard, non-proprietary, self-custody wallet that's cold storage, and that's what Ballet is. Super safe. And I'm proud to say over the last few years we launched, we've had zero hacking, zero loss. And I don't think many wallet makers can say that, right? A lot of wallet makers, they have these fancy products that are quote unquote safe, but the reality is they're so complicated, people make mistakes, right? I have come across so many friends and acquaintances and business people who have had horror stories where they lose money because they improperly use these other crypto wallets, whether it's a software mobile wallet or hardware wallet, and they lose funds to the tune of millions of dollars. It's really, really bad.
I've
Yeah,
seen it as well, just across various companies that I've worked with. You see users, the companies have to deal with it from a legal perspective of how to handle these
correct.
situations, because usually it's no fault of the company. It's the user has lost their password or saved
Exactly. Yeah, they lost their password, yep, or they get locked out.
yeah,
Yep,
but
they
it's
get locked out.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
It is very heartbreaking. And that's a motivation for me to create this company, Ballet. Over the years being a sort of industry KOL leader, I hear a lot of these stories, and by the end of 2018, I've said enough is enough. We're going to try to do something and change the world and launch this wallet to solve that problem. And previously, prior to Ballet, all my personal friends and relatives, they hear my pitch about Bitcoin, they want to invest, and then I would have to teach them how to set up a wallet to do that, and it's very complicated, just very time consuming, and they might make mistakes. I worry about it all the time. So now with Ballet, I tell them go buy a Ballet on Amazon. You can get it next day delivered. You could buy from ballet.com website, and once you receive it, just scan this QR code and you can send Bitcoin to it directly. Right, and download the app, look at the value, and you can enable Ethereum, Dogecoin, Litecoin, any coin you want, and you can then send the coin to your wallet. You can store it all on a single wallet, or you can have multiple Ballet wallets and store it and spread out your wealth and have them safe that way. Yeah.
One other nice thing about ballet too is, I always worry if I were to pass away, the money on my
Ah,
treasure or
yes.
ledger, I don't know. Like, I know
Yes.
my husband knows how to
That's
access
right.
it, but my mom or my son, neither of them would know how
Yes.
to get it. So the money might just, I try to educate my mother on she knows where
Yeah.
things are, and maybe she could get a friend of mine to help her through it or something to figure it out. But with ballet, it's like they can, if they
Exactly.
find the wallet, they get the money. Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha, you bring up an excellent point. It's called continuity planning, right? Whether it's life continuity, business continuity. We are proud to be the only wallet on the market where it's a bearer asset. So, God forbid, if the parents both, suffer an accident, a plane crash, or a motorcycle accident, or whatever, and or they get sick, right? They get sick from COVID. People pass away from COVID, right? If both or one parent dies, and the other spouse doesn't know how to get their coins out of an electronic hardware wallet because they forgot, they don't know the PIN. You type in the PIN 3 times, it's wrong, it wipes out the device, right? And you have these so-called 24-word seed recovery phrases, and sometimes there's an extra 25th word that's completely secret. So there's a lot of ways to get to screw up and not be able to get access to your digital cryptocurrency. So people have worked hard all their lives, saved all this crypto. I don't care if it's Bitcoin or whatnot, and you're supposed to be able to spend it, enjoy it for retirement or for your kids. And if something bad would happen and they can't get to it, that would be really, really sad, right? So Ballet, there's no external password, there's no external memory, there's no PIN code, there's no password. So as long as someone gets access to this, if the parents pass away, grandparents pass away, the next generation, they get access to it, they can get all the crypto from it. Even if a crypto coin forks out, right? So just recently with Ethereum merge, there's some other fork coins like ETHW and stuff like that. You could also get those out if you want, because you have control over your private keys.
Mm-hmm. That's so nice. And I remember at the beginning, a few people were saying, "Oh, well, does Bobby know everyone's private key?" But you don't, right? It's like
I don't, definitely don't. Yeah, let me talk about that. So people like, "Oh gosh, Bobby, if the Ballet Wallet is so good, that means we have to trust you. We have to trust you. We have to trust Ballet to use it." And the answer is yes, you do. So let me say that again. The answer is yes, you do. And you know why? The reason is any wallet. I don't care if it's Ballet or any other wallet. You have these other hardware wallets, which I won't mention by name. Sasha, you mentioned a few by name. There are other software wallets on the app. The reality is you always have to trust the vendor of your wallet. There is no such thing as a trustless wallet. Okay? Think about it. You always have to trust the vendor in two ways. Number one is that they're technically competent. Okay, that means the software and the service solution and the firmware and the open source solution and the standard they use, you have to trust that they're competent, they're providing the right technology, the right software, there's no bugs, there's no backdoors, there's no mistakes in them. They do the wrong calculation. When they have the private key, they're not giving you the wrong deposit address. Imagine if they have a private key generated for you and then they give you the wrong deposit address, you send your coin to the wrong deposit address. You'll never get that out.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to trust that they're competent and they're not screw ups. And by the way, we've had plenty of examples of wallet companies, web wallets, software wallets, hardware wallets, where they screw up and customers lose their money. Okay, that's true and factually true. Go check it out. The second thing you have to trust is that the wallet company, again, applies for hardware wallet, software wallet, everything, that the wallet company is not evil and not malicious. Think about that. If they were evil and malicious, they can try to steal your funds, and guess what? They will succeed, right? Even if you have the best wallet that's supposed to be running open source firmware, right? Even if you compile your own firmware, you load it in, they could have a malicious bootloader that pretends to take in your firmware, but doesn't really run your firmware, right? You can have malicious backdoors. You can have malicious calculations in the back, right? Even if pretend you think you're creating your own private key, generate your own seed recovery phrase. They could do is they could pre-generate 1 million versions of the recovery seed and just pick one for you randomly, right? And then the reality is you might copy down those 24 words. You think you have your random one, and you might do it again. You get a different 24 word. But the reality is maybe they have 1 million out there that they've stored away on their servers, and they're always picking from those 1 million. And when you put money in there, 3 months later, they take all the money out. So my point is, again, I'm not accusing anyone of that, but my point is you have to trust your wallet maker to be not evil and not malicious. And same thing, you have to trust us. You have to trust me. You have to trust Ballet that we are not malicious and not evil, right? So don't ever forget that. I don't care if you're an advanced wallet user or a casual user. You are trusting the vendor, whether you're buying a glass or a can of Coca-Cola, or you're going to a restaurant, or you're buying clothes to wear, you're buying a computer or a phone, you're trusting implicitly, you're trusting the vendor to give you a good product that is safe to use and that does what the product says it does.
One other topic I kind of wanted to dive into with you, which I've never actually heard you speak on too much. I hope maybe you haven't, I just have missed it. But what are your thoughts on the SEC's regulations of the space over the past year?
They've been denying the Bitcoin ETFs, time and time again. They've been shooting it down, right? Is that the topic? Or
yeah, well, that's some of it. I guess just they've really ramped up regulation. So they've been going after different companies.
Yeah.
Since the Gensler administration kind of took over, there's been a lot harsher regulation, it seems. And then just even recently, so NFTs have kind of had a sweet spot where people have looked at them more like baseball trading cards and not as securities or even crypto assets, the same way. But now the SEC is investigating Yuga Labs, who's the creator of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So if they do determine that those are securities, then that whole NFT space, it's going to be in trouble because they won't be able to be sold on places like OpenSea. They'll have to be sold on, the actual stock exchange or limited to accredited investors.
Yeah. So I might have a controversial perspective on this. I am with the SEC on this. I'm a law-abiding person, and the SEC was created 100 years ago in the 1920s to solve the problem of fraudulent sort of snake's oil salesmen trying to sell stocks to innocent investors looking to make some money, right? So people want to make money. That's fine, right? That's not illegal. That's the human nature. You want to make some money, right? Whether you work hard, whether you make an investment, whether you mow the lawn or whatever, right? People wanting to make money is fine. But what happened was when there are no rules, and then there are a lot of people becoming con men, they will try to make quick buck by pawning off bad so-called bad investments to the normal working class and make quick money that way. So that's how the SEC came about, to set up regulation for securities and for investments. And that's why for a startup like Ballet and for many companies, there's regulation and there are laws about who you can sell stock to. They have to be accredited investors, meaning multimillionaires and rich people who know what they're doing. And I can't, as a CEO founder, I can't go and promote my company and sell shares of my company publicly on TV or on a radio show or on a plaza, right? So if I did that, I would be violating securities law. And these security laws have been around for decades, right, since the last century. And what's happening in crypto is crypto has brought new technology on. So for example, Ethereum, the ERC20 tokens, now everyone can issue a digital token, right? I can issue a digital token for Ballet, for my company, which I don't do, by the way. I purposely choose to avoid that. So we don't issue coins or tokens for our company to sell with the expectation of telling our buyers, oh, you will get rich by buying Ballet tokens and coins, right? We don't do that. Okay, I've made it very clear from day one with my founding team, I'm never going to do it as long as I'm CEO. I'm never going to do that, right? I raise money the traditional way through venture capital, selling equity to professional accredited investors. We do not sell shares of Ballet to random people, especially anonymous people, and definitely not via token sales or coin sales. Okay, so the SEC is cracking down on that. I applaud them. I think they should crack down on that because there's too many projects out there, and they're all projects, right? That's why I get offended when people call Ballet a project. Ballet, we're not a project. We're a company, right? If you're a project, to me, that's derogatory. Don't call me a project, okay? I consider all these other projects that are raising money through ICOs and through whitelists, NFTs. I really, honestly, I don't have good words to say about them. Right, these people are trying to make a quick buck by because when you and your team, the project is selling access or selling the tokens, and you're promising the buyer that you're going to make money on it, then you've already veered off to the wrong track. Right, when I sell you Ballet, I don't promise you you're going to make money on this. Right, that's not the case. We promise you a product that's safe to use, that's easy, that's reliable. Right, but on the other hand, if these companies are selling tokens, and then the company all of a sudden is no longer caring about making the product. They're more caring about pumping up the token price and making sure there's liquidity for the token and making sure there's a lot of buyers for it, a lot of demand for the token, right? So a lot of exchanges sell these initial exchange offerings, IEOs. I just poo-poo all of that, right? So I have respect for crypto companies who don't sell tokens. Those are the companies I have respect for. Yeah, my 2 cents.
Hey, I like it. You got some conviction there, and certainly a lot of people have lost money on the token casino. But conversely,
Exactly.
some people argue, well, if you can go and gamble your life savings on a roulette table, why shouldn't you be able to do it online with a token sale? But I think to your point, there's a difference in disclosure requirements. Like at a casino,
Exactly.
you're gambling. Whereas with these tokens, people, like if you look at, I probably shouldn't name the Ripple, army, but you got just these people spouting all kinds of what has been proved to be misinformation over the years that convinces retail investors that this is the next big thing, and then it doesn't follow through. So I think that's kind of the difference.
I think there's a huge difference. So the SEC, I think, they're not a perfect organization. But I'm definitely in support of them cracking down on these token schemes, right? Tokens and NFT schemes where they're just a smash and grab kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. And so what aspects are keeping you excited over the coming years? What are you excited about, in the next 3 years for Bitcoin?
Well, so obviously the halving is coming up in a year and a half. In the meantime, we're in a bear market. I think the bear market will last another year and a half, go into the halving. We're just putting our heads down, going to work. We're building, continue to make great products for Ballet. We have a whole new series of cards coming out with a great new packaging. We're improving the software app, and we're educating more people. We have to take this time to spend the time to educate, coming on your podcast, attending conferences, going on, doing MAs, basically to get the word out, right? I genuinely, I've been in Bitcoin for 11 years, right? Very few people can top me in terms of the amount of time I've been in crypto. And I genuinely tell you from the bottom of my heart, I think this is a great product that's really safe to use, that's very responsible. It's really suitable for people of all ages, right? If you have kids, children as young as 3 or 4, they can hold this and you can put crypto in them and they can really, really have crypto. They won't know what it is. They probably don't know how to keep it safe. The parents can keep it safe for them. But on the back, there's a memo field. You can write their name on it, right? Birthday gift, year 2022. Birthday gift, year 2023, right? Or a tooth fairy gift, or I don't know what, right? And people of older age, right? Your grandparents, people in the 80s and 90s, they can also hold on to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And people, we eventually all die. So my grandfather passed away 2 years ago, and his Bitcoins on a Ballet card can be passed down to his children because there's no memorization. You don't take your crypto to your grave with you, right? All too often, if it's a password, a login, um, then you memorize it. But human memory is fallible. So that's one thing I haven't talked about on today's show. Human memory is not perfect, right? As I get older, I realize, hey, some things I have forgotten or I don't remember so well, right? So that's why for our products, we do not rely on human memory at all. Even our app, there's no password, there's no login, right? So this is something fundamental and core to our philosophy is to make it easy to use, to make sure you don't screw up, to make sure you don't lose crypto. Yet you have full control of your own crypto by having self-custody of the private keys. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Bobby. This has been a great talk. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Bobby C. Lee. I'm on Instagram at bobbylee.bitcoin. Um, and and what else? And Ballet, ballet.com.
Nice. And your book too. I'll put a link to your
Yes.
book. You just
Yes.
went on
My
Audible, right? So now you
That's
can
right. My
listen to
book.
it as well.
That's right. My book is it's called The Promise of Bitcoin. I don't have a copy here with me. I should have prepared.
I should have
It's on
checked.
Amazon.
It's a,
Yeah,
not.
it's on
It's,
Amazon. The Promise of Bitcoin. Maybe I'll have. Hold on. Uh, Lynn, can you go get me a copy of the book, The Promise of Bitcoin? Just bring me a copy. Yeah. All right. So we'll have it right now. It's sold on Amazon in hardcover. It's the retail price is $30, and I think you can get on Amazon for cheaper than that. And it's also an ebook, so you can get on Kindle and other ebook vendors. So digital version, electronic version, and also on Audible. So I actually spent time earlier this year recording the full audiobook series for The Promise of Bitcoin. I went to a recording studio for 6 days. I recorded the whole thing. I think the final ebook's only 9.5 hours, but it took us many days to do it was fun and it was exhausting as well. So you
I
download the
know.
ebook version. Sorry, the audiobook version of that. It's me narrating it myself, so I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
Excellent. I read it on the flight home. I started and continued reading it, but I read the beginning parts on the flight home from Vegas last year at Tone's conference, and it was
Oh, great,
excellent.
great.
You break down all these complex topics into a really understandable way, so that I think
Yeah.
anyone can read that book and kind of understand some of the merits of Bitcoin.
Yes, yes. I'm
How
glad you
long?
like it, Sasha. Yeah.
Oh, thank
And
you.
also, and it's done pretty well. It's got pretty good reviews on Amazon, and it's sold very well. So it was on the national bestseller list on Wall Street Journal bestseller list. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Amazing. That's good. The more people that read it, the better. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. What was your question about the book
Oh, I
or?
was wondering how long it took you to write something like that. Like
Oh,
what
it
it's
took
a
me,
lot of work.
yeah, the pandemic actually helped. So the pandemic, due to the slow nature of everything, I was able to finish it up. So I started this. I had inklings to start this in 2018. So that's when I sort of got the effort going, and then I had to find a book agent, and then we had to shop it around with a publisher. So all in all, it took about 2 years. Yeah, two. It was published in May of 2021. So all in all, about 2 years, 2.5 years. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Well worth it. I've always
Yes,
dreamed
yes,
of writing a book, but it just feels like a really daunting task.
yes. So Bitcoin is the best investment opportunity of our life, of our time, rather. Yeah. The promise of Bitcoin, the subtitle is the future of money and how it can work for you. Yep. And we have nice Bitcoin. So it's, yeah, all about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but mostly about Bitcoin.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, and also thank you for supplying the Bitcoin for that contest we'll do on Twitter.
Great, great, excellent. Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Sasha.